She stood in the giant kitchen, wiping sweat off her forehead. The heat from the ovens made her shirt cling to her back. Large pots boiled, trays of jollof rice steamed. The smell of grilled chicken filled the air. Her name was Amara, and she was cooking for 200 guests, alone. No help, no break, just her 2 hands, and the pressure of her father's 60th birthday party. Outside, the laughter of her sisters echoed. Tina and Lola, dressed in silk gowns, were taking selfies, dancing and sipping cold wine. Their nails were perfect, their makeup untouched. Not one of them had stepped into the kitchen that morning. Amara had begged them. She had sent voice notes the night before. "Please," she'd said, "just help with peeling, even if it's 1 hour." They left her on read. Their mother had passed 5 years ago. Since then, Amara became the one who took care of everything: cleaning, cooking, caring for their father. She had dropped out of college to keep the house running. Her sisters, they went on with life like nothing happened. Now here she was, her arms sore, her apron stained, her heart beating fast with stress. One of the coolers tipped slightly, spilling hot stew on her foot. She gasped in pain, biting her lip, but kept moving. There was still a goosey soup to stir, swallow to wrap, drinks to arrange. She heard Tina's voice outside. "Why is she pretending to be a martyr?" Tina laughed. "Nobody asked her to cook like that. That one likes to suffer." Lola added, "She just wants to get attention. She's not the only daughter in this house." Amara froze. Her hand tightened on the wooden spoon. Her ears burned. It wasn't just the work that made her sweat. It was the sting of being unappreciated again. But she said nothing. She never did. She had learned to swallow insults with her food. Hours passed. The guests started arriving. Loud music, flashing camera lights, women in shiny lace outfits and head wraps. Everyone smiled. Everyone danced. But no one noticed the girl behind the scenes, the one who hadn't sat down all day. Not until a tall man in a blue kaftan entered the kitchen. He watched her for a few seconds before speaking. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Did you cook all this?" She turned, startled. Her hair was messy. Her hands were red from heat. She nodded slowly. He smiled. "I've never tasted food like this in my life." Amara blinked. Then he asked the question that changed everything. "Why are you doing all this alone?" She looked at him, eyes glassy with exhaustion. And for the first time, someone was really asking. Amara was the oldest of 3 sisters. Her mother, Ruth, had always said she was born with too much heart. Even as a child, Amara would clean up after her younger sisters, make meals, and stay up late with her father when he came home tired from work. She never asked for much. She just wanted her family to be okay. When their mother died from a sudden illness 5 years ago, everything changed. The house felt cold, quiet. Their father, Mr. Benson, became silent and distant. He used to sing in the mornings and tell jokes during dinner. But after Ruth passed, he stopped laughing. Amara saw the light leave his eyes. That's when she stepped in. She quit school after her 2nd year in college, just to stay home and manage the house. She handled the bills, the shopping, the cooking. She kept everything together while Tina and Lola continued their lives like nothing happened. Tina was the second daughter. She was always bold, always chasing a spotlight. She worked in media and loved showing off her life on Instagram. Every outfit was a fashion statement. Every meal was a post. She believed Amara was too local and often mocked her old clothes and plain looks. Lola, the youngest, was softer, but still selfish. She had just finished university and was always out with friends. She wasn't cruel like Tina, but she never offered help either. She lived in the house like a guest, eating meals she didn't cook and sleeping on beds Amara had made. Amara's days were the same. Wake up early, clean, cook, plan, serve, and then disappear into the background like a shadow. She had no close friends, no boyfriend, no money of her own. Her dreams of finishing school and becoming a chef were buried under grocery lists and family duties. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, she would cry, but only for a moment. Then she wiped her tears and kept going, because someone had to. Their father, Mr. Benson, was a complicated man. He loved his daughters, but he never spoke up. He watched Tina mock Amara and said nothing. He saw Lola scroll her phone while Amara carried heavy pots, and he turned away. Maybe it was grief, maybe it was weakness. Either way, Amara had stopped expecting him to defend her. Now, on the day of his 60th birthday, everything had to be perfect. She had planned it for months. She saved from the little money she made baking cakes for neighbors. She called caterers, but they were too expensive, so she did it herself. every pot, every plate. She was exhausted, but she didn't complain. She just wanted her father to smile again. She wanted to feel seen, just once. But when the guests arrived and her sisters danced and posed for photos, no one mentioned her name. No one said, "Thank you." Her father gave a speech and thanked his beautiful daughters, but didn't mention the work behind the scenes. That was when the man in the blue kaftan entered the kitchen. His name was Malik. He was a cousin of one of the guests, a quiet businessman who noticed the tired girl behind the trays of food. When he asked her why she was doing it all alone, something broke inside her. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just looked at him with eyes full of quiet pain. Malik didn't push. He looked around the kitchen, at the mess, the heat, the stains on her apron. Then he said, "This is the best food I've tasted in a long time." That simple sentence lit something in Amara. Not pride, not joy, but hope, because maybe, just maybe, someone had finally seen her. The party was in full swing. Music blasted from the speakers, and people danced without a care. Amara stood at the back near the kitchen, wiping her hands with a towel, too tired to move. She'd been on her feet since 4 a.m., but no one seemed to notice. Malik had come and gone, his kind words still sitting in her chest like a warm drink. It was the only thing that made her feel human that day. She hadn't seen him again, but for a moment, she had felt seen. She stepped outside for some air, hoping to catch a breeze. Her sisters were still laughing near the drinks table. Tina wore a sparkling dress and high heels. Lola had her phone out, recording videos for her stories. Then, Amara heard it. "She's always acting like a maid," Tina said loudly, not caring who was around. "We didn't ask her to do all this. If she likes to suffer, let her." Lola chuckled. "She's embarrassing. Who still cooks for a party like this in this century? She doesn't even have a life." A group of people nearby heard them and laughed too, joining in the gossip. Amara stood frozen. Her heart pounded in her chest. Her throat felt tight. She didn't want to cry in public. She turned to go back inside, but ran into her father. He had heard everything. Mr. Benson stood there in silence, holding a drink. For a second, Amara thought he would say something. Maybe he would finally stand up for her, just this once. But he didn't. He looked at her. Then he looked at her sisters. And then he walked away. That moment broke something deep inside her. Later that night, after the last guest left and the house was quiet, Amara cleaned the dishes while her sisters went to bed. Her legs were shaking, her back hurt, and her eyes were red from holding back tears. She found a small envelope tucked under the drink table. She opened it. It was a thank you card. Inside was a simple note. "You are not invisible. Your work speaks louder than their words. Malik." And inside, 5 crisp $100 bills. Amara stared at the money, shocked. No one had ever given her a gift like that, not even her own family. She held the card tight, her hands trembling. Then something inside her shifted. She walked into the living room where her father sat watching TV. He didn't even look up. "I'm tired," she said quietly. "I need help." He sipped his drink. "The party was fine. You did well." She took a deep breath. "That's not what I said. I said I'm tired. I've been tired for 5 years. I cook, clean, pay bills, handle everything in this house, and no one cares. No one sees me. Not you, not Tina, not Lola." He finally looked up. "Amara, don't raise your voice." "I'm not raising it," she said, now with tears falling. "I'm finally using it." He stared at her, speechless. She dropped the towel on the couch. "I quit." "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean I'm done," she replied. "I'm not your maid. I'm not their nanny. I'm your daughter." And with that, she turned and walked to her room. That night, she didn't clean up the remaining dishes. She didn't fold the laundry. She didn't even turn off the living room light. She just sat on her bed, holding Malik's note and money, thinking. That was the night everything changed. The next morning, she didn't cook breakfast. She didn't wake her sisters. She didn't sweep the floors. And when Tina came knocking, shouting, "Where's the food?" Amara opened the door and said calmly, "Ask Dad." The confusion on their faces was clear. They were used to Amara doing everything. She was the invisible force holding the house together. But now the glue had cracked. Mr. Benson tried to talk to her. "Amara, don't do this. You're upsetting the peace in this house." "There was no peace," she replied. "There was silence." "That's not the same thing." He looked at her for a long time. "So what now?" "I'm going to finish school," she said. "I've already sent a message to my former lecturer. I'm going back." "With what money?" "I'll find a way." she said, her voice steady. She didn't mention the $500 Malik had given her. She didn't want it to be about a man saving her. She wanted to save herself. And for the first time, Amara felt something new. Not pain, not anger, but power. The change in the house was loud, even though no one said much. Amara stopped doing everything, and suddenly the family felt it. The floors stayed dirty. The fridge was empty. The living room looked messy. Tina and Lola complained every day. "Are you seriously going to keep pretending like you're a victim?" Tina snapped one morning. "This is your home too. You can't just stop doing things." Amara looked up from her laptop. "I was the only one doing things for 5 years. Now it's your turn." Lola rolled her eyes. "We didn't ask you to do all that. You acted like you enjoyed it." Amara didn't answer. She had started applying for scholarships and small chef programs online. She wanted to build something for herself, no matter how small. Every day she studied cooking videos, wrote recipes, and planned her next steps. But the house grew tense, cold, meals were rushed, conversations turned into arguments. No one said it out loud, but Amara's silence scared them. She had always been the soft one, the easy one. Now she was still, but not soft. One night, while Amara was asleep, Tina sneaked into her room. She found the thank you card from Malik and the cash inside a drawer. The next morning, during breakfast, Tina dropped the envelope on the table. "So that's why you're acting brave now," she said with a sneer. "Because some man gave you money." Amara froze. Mr. Benson looked up slowly. "What's that?" "It's her tip," Tina said. "From that man at the party, the one who was sniffing around the kitchen like a hungry dog." Amara's hands shook. "You went through my things?" Tina laughed. "Oh, please. You're pretending to be strong, but you're just like everyone else. One man gives you dollars, and now you have courage." "That money wasn't your business," Amara said, her voice low. Their father cleared his throat. "Is this true, Amara? A man gave you money?" Amara stared at him. "Yes. He gave me money because he saw how hard I worked. Not because I begged. Not because I asked." Lola looked confused. "So you're dating him now, or what?" "I barely know him," Amara said. "He was just kind." Tina laughed again. "Kind? Or just looking for something you're now ready to give?" Amara stood up suddenly, her chair scraping the floor. "You're disgusting." Tina stood too. "Oh, now you have a voice? Big girl, Abi, let's see how far that money takes you." Their father stood too, trying to calm things down. "Enough. Sit down, all of you." Amara turned to him. "This is what you allow. Every day. You see them treat me like this and you say nothing." "I don't like fighting in my house," he said. "You allow everything, but call it peace," Amara replied. "That's not peace. That's weakness." She walked out and slammed the door behind her. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. She felt like her lungs were on fire. Later that day, Lola knocked on her door, holding a cup of tea. "Hey," she said softly. "I didn't mean what I said earlier." Amara looked up. "Then why didn't you stop her?" Lola looked down. "I don't like conflict. I never have." "That's not an excuse," Amara said. "You stayed quiet while I was dying slowly in this house." Lola nodded. "I know." Amara's voice cracked. "You both made me feel like I was nothing. And the worst part is, I believed it for a long time." Lola sat down on the bed. "Tina's always been loud. I just followed her lead. But you were always the strong one." Amara looked at her. "I wasn't strong. I was stuck." That night, while scrolling through her emails, Amara found a message. It was from a local culinary school. They had reviewed her small portfolio and wanted to invite her for a short training program. It wasn't a full scholarship, but it was something. They said they were impressed by her food presentation and flavor ideas. She wanted to scream with joy. Instead, she smiled to herself and whispered, "Thank you, God." But the happiness didn't last long. The next day, Tina used the family group chat to stir more drama. "She's now applying to chef schools with money from strange men," she wrote. "She's chasing dreams while we clean up after her. She wants to be a star chef. Let her go beg that man again." Their father replied, "Enough, Tina. This is your last warning." Tina left the group. Amara read the messages, her hands cold. Then something strange happened. Her father came to her room that night. "I saw the message from the school," he said. "I'm proud of you." She was shocked. "You never say things like that," she said. He sat on the edge of her bed. "I failed you. When your mother died, I became lost. You picked up everything I dropped. I let that continue too long." Amara listened quietly. He continued, "You're not a servant. You're my daughter. I'm sorry." She wanted to be angry. She wanted to tell him it was too late, but instead she just nodded. "Thank you," she whispered, even though the house was still broken, even though her S. 2 weeks later, everything came crashing down. Amara had been preparing for her first day at the culinary training program. It wasn't far, just a bus ride away, but to her, it felt like leaving behind her old life. She had packed her books, a few outfits, and her dream. Her plan was simple: attend the 2-month training, learn everything, and find a way to open a small food business. On the morning she was supposed to start, she came to the kitchen to find her bag missing. Her folder with documents was gone too. She searched everywhere, under the table, behind the couch, in the laundry room. Nothing. She went to her sister's room. Tina was there, sitting with crossed arms, staring at her phone. "Where's my bag?" Amara asked. Tina didn't look up. "What bag?" "You know what I'm talking about. The one with my papers. My school stuff." Tina finally looked at her and smirked. "Oh, that. I put it in the trash." Amara blinked. "What? I thought you said you were leaving, so I helped you go." Amara stared at her in shock. "Why would you do that?" Tina stood slowly, her voice sharp. "Because you think you're better than us now. Cooking school? Please, you're still the same house girl who never finished college. You went through my things and threw them out." Amara's voice was shaking. Lola came in, looking scared. "Tina, are you serious?" Tina didn't back down. "Yes, I'm serious." Someone had to remind her where she came from. Amara's face turned red. Her hands were shaking now. "You're sick." Tina took a step closer. "No, I'm real. And let me tell you something else. You were never Mum's favorite. She pitied you. That's why she always pushed you to do more. Because she knew you were weak." Amara stepped back, like she had been slapped. The words cut deep. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't speak. Tina kept going. "And that money Malik gave you?" Everyone at the party was talking. "You looked desperate, like you'd sell yourself for a thank you." Before she could finish, Mr. Benson walked into the room. "What's going on here?" Amara turned to him, her eyes full of tears. "She threw away my school bag, my documents, my money." Tina looked at him boldly. "She's running away from her responsibilities." Their father stared at Tina. "You did what?" "She's wasting time with this cooking dream," Tina snapped. "You should be stopping her, not encouraging her." Mr. Benson raised his voice. "For the first time in years, you destroyed her things." "Yes," Tina said, still standing tall. "Because someone needed to remind her." He cut her off. "You're leaving my house today." The room went silent. "What?" Tina whispered. "You heard me," he said. "Pack your things and leave. You don't get to destroy your sister's life and stay here like nothing happened. You're kicking me out for her." "For once," he said, his voice steady, "I'm doing the right thing." Tina's face broke. She looked at Lola for help, but Lola stayed quiet. "You think you're strong," Tina said to Amara, "but you're nothing without this house." Amara stepped forward. Her voice was calm. "That's the thing. I was nothing because of this house. Now I'm free." Tina stormed out, slamming the door. Amara dropped to the floor, breathing hard. Lola rushed to her side. "I didn't know she would go that far," Lola said, crying. "I'm so sorry." Mr. Benson knelt down beside Amara. "I'll help you replace everything. We'll call the school, get new documents, whatever it takes." Amara looked at him. "Why now?" "Because I've been blind too long," he said. "I let this house become a prison for you, but not anymore." Later that day, he drove Amara to the school himself. He met the coordinator, explained everything, and helped reprint the lost forms. They even allowed her to start the next day. Amara sat quietly in the car, holding her new folder. Her hands still trembled, but not from fear. She had stood up to Tina. Her father had finally stood up for her. The past had cracked open, and something new was growing. She wasn't broken anymore. She was rising. Amara started her culinary program the next morning. She wore her plain black dress and tied her hair back. She had no fancy tools or expensive shoes, but she walked into that building with something stronger than all of that: belief in herself. The kitchen was bright and clean, filled with smells of spices, oil, and fresh vegetables. Other students were already chopping, mixing, learning. For the first time in a long while, Amara felt like she belonged somewhere that didn't require her to serve everyone else. Her first dish was simple: spicy jollof rice with grilled chicken. The instructor tasted it and paused for a long time. Amara held her breath. He looked at her and said, "This tastes like home." She smiled quietly. She didn't cry, but her heart felt full. Every day, Amara worked hard. She came early, stayed late, asked questions, and practiced recipes at night. She carried a small notebook everywhere, writing down ideas for her own business one day. A mobile food stall, a name for her brand, a small kitchen she could call her own. Back at home, things had changed too. Tina had moved out after her father asked her to leave. She stayed with a friend and refused to speak to anyone for weeks. Lola tried to make peace by calling Amara and asking to meet up. Amara agreed. They met at a small cafe near the school. Lola ordered a drink. Amara ordered nothing. "I'm sorry," Lola said softly, "for not standing up for you, for laughing at you, for acting like your silence wasn't heavy." Amara looked at her. "You were my sister. You were supposed to protect me." "I know," Lola said. "I was scared of Tina. I let her lead. But now I see how much you were carrying." Amara nodded slowly. "You didn't just watch me break. You helped me stay broken." Lola's eyes filled with tears. "Please forgive me." Amara paused for a long moment. Then she said, "I'm not angry anymore, but I won't go back to how things were. I have to protect my peace now." Lola nodded. "I understand." After that day, they spoke once in a while. Not every day, not like before. But Amara didn't feel hate in her heart anymore, just distance. And that was okay. Her father also changed. He started helping around the house. He even tried cooking once. It was a disaster, but they laughed. Sometimes he would sit and listen as Amara told him about her day, about the lessons, the sources, the teacher who praised her for her attention to detail. One Sunday afternoon, Mr. Benson knocked on her door and handed her a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "It's not much," he said. "Just something to help you start your food business when you're ready." Inside was a check, small, but enough to buy her first batch of cooking supplies. "I should have done more for you a long time ago," he said, "but I'm here now." Amara hugged him, not tightly, but enough to say thank you. Weeks turned into months. Amara finished her program with one of the highest scores. Her instructor helped her find a small weekend job at a restaurant downtown. She worked hard, saved money, and learned the business side of food. Her dream was growing slowly. One day, while serving at a wedding event, she saw a familiar face in the crowd. Malik. He hadn't changed much. Still quiet, still kind. He came up to her, smiled, and said, "You're glowing." She laughed. "It's the oil. I've been cooking since 6 a.m. He smiled again. "I meant something deeper. You look free." She nodded. "I am." They didn't talk for long. He didn't ask for her number. She didn't offer. But something passed between them, a soft kind of respect, the kind that stays, even in silence. By the end of the year, Amara had saved enough to rent a small kitchen space. Not big, not fancy, but hers. She called it Fire and Grace. The name came from her journey, the fire she had walked through, the grace that kept her from falling apart. She started small, online orders, home deliveries, catering tiny birthdays and church events. Word spread quickly. People started to ask, "Who made this rice?" or "Where can I order this pepper soup?" And each time, Amara smiled and said, "Just send a message. I'll make it with love." She no longer lived for other people's approval. She cooked not because she had to, but because it brought her peace. Her food told stories, not of pain, but of power. Her story wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it was real. And in a world that once ignored her, Amara had finally found her place. One quiet evening, Amara stood alone in her small kitchen. The lights were soft, the shelves were full, and the smell of fresh soup filled the air. She had just finished her last order for the day. Her apron was stained, her hair was messy, but her heart felt full. She sat at the little table in the corner, holding a cup of warm tea. On the wall beside her was a photo, her mother, smiling in their old kitchen, with Amara as a little girl standing beside her. That memory had kept her going through so many hard days. She reached for her notebook, the one where she wrote her recipes and dreams. On the last page, she wrote a sentence. "I was never invisible. I was just surrounded by people who refused to look." A small tear rolled down her cheek, not from sadness, but from release. She had fought a quiet war for years, and now she was standing in her own space, built by her own hands. Outside, the street was quiet. A soft breeze came through the window. Her phone buzzed. A new order. She smiled. Then she whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." And for the first time in her life, Amara didn't feel tired, or small, or forgotten. She felt whole.